great basketball.
Defender to the Mavs, Jason Tatum.
We covering pre and post game back on this channel. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back into Celtics Postgame Live. I am your host, Rob Haytayan. I am with my co-host, Justin Lowe, and my other co-host, Ian Angelo, as he's joining us now. Guys, the Boston Celtics beat the Washington Wizards 120-111. It seems to be a common trend here to have this for me to be saying that. Wizards kind of stuck around. Was not really as close as the final score showed. Jaylen Brown, though, led all Celtics scorers. No Jason Tatum. No problem for the season tonight. Brown had 36 points, 5 rebounds, gave us 2 assists, shot the ball 56% from the floor, I believe. Yes, 56. Then right behind him off the bench, Malcolm Brogdon. He had 17 points. 7 Boston Celtics tonight scores were in double figures, including Cornette, Hauser, and Brogdon off the bench. 4 out of the 5 starters, guys. Celtics advanced to 16-4. How are we feeling, Justin, after this one of 2 back-to-back at home?
I'm feeling I wish the Wizards didn't go on a big run in that fourth quarter, but it is what it is. That's basketball. Team's going to go on their run. The Celtics dominated the Wizards tonight. Actually, so much so, the Celtics at one point in the fourth quarter were getting outscored by 15, yet the Celtics still had led by 14. That's how bad the Celtics beat down on the Washington Wizards. Tonight, the Wizards really needed a historic comeback to really get back into this game. But bench played phenomenal. Tonight, 7 scores in double figures tonight for the Celtics. No Tatum, no problem. Now put the team on his back. I thought Horford had a great game. Obviously, we saw guys step up. Malcolm Brogdon, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard hit some shots. This was exactly the type of game we needed from this team. First night of a back-to-back.
Yeah, I texted you before the game, Justin. Obviously, resting Jason Tatum was not a problem in the end. But, this was a game that if the Celtics didn't come in and play and take this seriously, that they absolutely could have lost. Washington was 10-9 before entering this game. They're a good team. Beal's been playing well. Porzingis has been doing his thing. They got Kuzma. They have a lot of talent around these guys in this team and in that locker room. So definitely pleasant to see the Celtics come out and, keep their foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah, this game was purely about the benches. The Wizards were 8-3 when their bench outscores. They're 8-3. That's a really, really good record. So the Celtics bench needed to be on tonight. Tonight was a perfect night for the bench to be on, and they went out there and they got the win, Ian.
Definitely. And I mean, obviously people are only going to talk about the fourth quarter and how, the bench couldn't hold on. But before that, I mean, in the first half, the bench had 22 points. I mean, you really couldn't ask much more out of, the group of guys that you have on the bench when your best player is out. So I'm not going to take too much stock into the fact that, the fourth quarter happened. Sometimes stuff just happens, and the Wizards just decided to start playing basketball in the fourth quarter. So there's really nothing else you can say, because before that, the Wizards, it didn't even look like they cared, before the fourth quarter. So, I mean, that kind of stuff happens. But I think the Celtics overall played a really great, they played a really great game.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It's like basketball is a game of runs. The other team is gonna eventually start to hit shots. Obviously, they beat us 33-17, and I mean they beat us by 16 in the fourth. But I mean, we were through and through dominant. 41 points, 37 in the second. Missoula ball is really working out, guys. Now we are on a win pace. Get this. 16-4. We're on a 66-game win pace right now. Obviously won 9 straight. We dropped one on the road to Chicago. We've gone 2 in a row. We're playing the 6-14 Hornets tomorrow night at the Garden, 7:30. Then I believe we have the Heat back to back, if I'm not mistaken, guys. Correct. So 3 games coming up where they're very winnable. The Heat have won 3 in a row. They're looking a little bit better. I know Hero just had a double-double or a triple-double tonight, but like we said, Rob expected to come back around Christmas. They said, on. I don't believe they said on. I think they said around. So that could be, the week before, the week prior, the day of. You never really know. Obviously, we play the Bucks on Christmas, but first 20 games, guys, we're in, right? First 20 games. Actually, this show says game 20 or 19. So I'm going to fix that real quick. So we're 19 games in, 20 games in. Oh my God. So many numbers. Last year we said 25 games in is our final assessment on this team or that team in general. Obviously 25 games in last year, we were wrong about our assessment because of the turnaround we had. But no final assessments. What do you think? Is there a team that can stop the Celtics? I mean, is this the Celtics just season to have? I mean, is this their title to lose, or do you think that there's a team out west, or even the Bucks or the Sixers, the Cavs that pose a real threat to Boston?
Yeah, that question is not to be answered until we see how Robert Williams fits in with this group. We hope that he fits in good. We think he's going to fit in good, but we never know. Shit could hit the fan, excuse my language, but we never know. Shit could hit the fan and Robert Williams doesn't work out. Is it likely to happen? No, but there also is a possibility that does happen, and we need to look at that side. I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, but it's true. It's not guaranteed to work with Robert Williams as much as we want it to work. It's not guaranteed, but this team could take it to a whole other level when Robert Williams comes back into the lineup on both ends the floor, which is scary to say because scoring 118 points through 3 quarters tonight wasn't scary enough on a night where you did not have Jason Tatum. That's scary enough. Imagine it with Robert Williams, a healthy Robert Williams. And then your defense as well, Rob, you just take it to a whole other level. So I think that question is yet to be answered until really when Robert Williams comes back into this lineup.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same way. I mean, if, like, let's just think maybe Robert Williams isn't healthy 100% and the Celtics still have to run a lineup similar to what they do now where they have to still continuously play Luke Cornett. And obviously, I mean, we say 25 games into the season we can make an assessment, but we really can't. I mean, You can't really make an assessment until you really get to the playoffs or, at least get to the trade deadline, I say, because that's kind of when teams' rosters are pretty much finalized once you hit the trade deadline. But, I mean, as of right now, I mean, you could say that there's no one that can stop this team outside of maybe Milwaukee and, maybe Golden State because they'll find some way to do something. But, I mean, outside of those two teams, I really don't see another team in the NBA right now that can compete with the Celtics or, I mean, they can make games close, obviously, but I don't really think there's another team that's going to beat this team.
I think it's a two-headed race, I think, between us and the Bucks, especially considering both teams are missing their third best player. For us, second best player for them. I consider Robert Williams our third best player. I don't think there's anyone out west that can beat this team. I thought Denver's looked good. Obviously, they're trying to get Jamal Murray's legs back.
You know what, though? I just feel like the Celtics have such a number on Denver. Healthy or not.
Not only just that, it's just...
I mean, we crushed
Here's my thing, right? Through 20 games, obviously, injuries can happen throughout the season. Right. You don't know who's going to go down. You don't know what trades happen. We're 20 games in, so this is just off of what I've seen. I don't think there is a team, though, even including Milwaukee, that can beat this team through 7 games. I think Milwaukee, I shouldn't say including Milwaukee. I think I could see us losing to Milwaukee, but this team responds so well to adversity. It's scary. And that is really what makes a championship team. When you have been through a lot together, as cliche as it may sound, when teams have been through a lot and they've seen and been through different scenarios together, it makes it tougher to beat them because their trust builds, their connection builds, their experience builds. And this team has essentially been through every stage that you can have gone through. They've, gone against LeBron in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. They've beaten Giannis. They've beaten Durant. They've played Curry in the finals. I mean, you name it, they've seen it. They've lost in the second round. They've, been swept in the first round. They know what it feels like and what stages of the playoffs, and what it takes to win. That's scary. I thought that the Celtics, if they were to fall off at any time, they would struggle. It would be the first 25 games, first 30 games. That's when I thought our worst basketball would be played. I don't think it can get any better than this, because if it gets any better than this, you're looking at a historic win pace. I mean, we're already at 66 games win pace. Obviously, I'd assume we're going to slow down at some point, But I mean, like, I don't want to overreact. But I don't see a team beating us outside of Milwaukee through 7 games. I really think the Celtics versus the Bucks, that's going to be the NBA Finals. I feel like if we match up in the Eastern Conference Finals, winner of that takes it. I think that's just me.
Unless we have to play Chicago on a Monday, then I think we'll be fine in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
I think we'll be okay.
I mean,
unless we have to play Chicago on a Monday in Chicago or Cleveland in a game that goes to overtime. So
I mean, we've only lost to Chicago and Cleveland, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's
but you know what? Only lost to Chicago and Cleveland.
That brings up like a point I actually brought up the other day. I was just texting you off camera, was the fact that like how much really can we take from those series when Chicago, we've played 3 games against Chicago, and we're not even out of the month of November yet. We weren't even 20 games in yet. We've already played Cleveland twice. There's a span where we play. We play Miami 2. We would have played Miami 3 times before the first week of. We played Miami already. We're about to play them twice this week. That's really weird. Where we're kind of closing out. There was a moment last year where in December 3 of our 4 games against Detroit in December. And that's where the scheduling is really weird, is when we're playing teams like Cleveland, Miami, Chicago, teams that we're likely going to meet in the playoffs at some point, way or another. We can't really give our really final takes like, oh, the season series was 3-2 or 3-1 Miami. It's like, well, those games are all played in November. Some crazy streak, good or bad. Like last year when we sucked in the beginning of the year, it's like, how much can we really talk about that when the Celtics not only set a whole different team? So I don't know. I don't really like how the NBA kind of did that scheduling. Like you just mentioned, we have 4 losses. We've only lost against 2 teams. That's how weird the schedule is.
Well, so through the first 20 games, we've seen teams like Philly, Miami, Cleveland, Chicago. We've seen Chicago, but they've been struggling. We've seen Memphis. We've seen Denver,
New Orleans,
and Dallas. So we've seen some good competition. We've beaten everyone besides Cleveland out of those teams. In the next 20 games, we're going to see teams such as the Heat, the Nets, the Raptors, the Suns, the Warriors, the Clippers, the Lakers, who have been playing some better basketball as of late, but you don't know what you're going to get from LA. The Pacers, who have been looking good, the T-Wolves, the Bucks, the Clippers again. You're going to see the Nuggets again, and then you're going to see Dallas. So a little bit of a heftier schedule. Obviously, if you guys remember last year, how dreaded that December schedule was for us. It was
December,
what did Seamus call it? The gauntlet. It was the gauntlet, December gauntlet. Oh, yeah. So a similar path, kind of but this is the real test. I want to see, before I make a final assessment. Obviously, I have my prediction I stated earlier in the show, but my final assessment I think can come at the end of December and kind of midway through January. Once we get Rob back once, we'll see a matchup against Milwaukee, which is going to be like the game of the year, I think, on Christmas. You'll see the Lakers. You'll be back in Golden State, which I'm praying we run them off their floor. And you'll see Toronto, Phoenix, some tough games there. And a mini series against Miami coming up. So,
I really want to see how the Celtics handle the type of schedule we're going through. 6 straight at home, 7 straight on the road against those types of teams. I think right when we get home, we play another 6 games straight at home, and then we play on the road, 4 straight games on the road. So this is the weirdest schedule I've ever seen. I think this is the most weird schedule in NBA history. I really do. I mean, you don't straight games at home, then 7 straight games on the road, then 6 straight games at home. You don't see that. So that's going to be really interesting to see how the Celtics handle it. And then, Rob, you mentioned the strength of schedule coming up. December is always dreadful, but this December, you see teams like you start the road trip. What's the road trip? It's like burnt into my mind. I think it's Toronto, Brooklyn. Then you go out west then you play Phoenix. The Pacific teams. Phoenix,
Brooklyn,
Lakers,
Clippers.
Toronto,
Phoenix, Golden State, Clippers, Lakers.
Like that is as ridiculous as it gets.
But the crazy thing is that if we're healthy, so this is what I think is going to happen, right? I think this is what happens. I think we got Miami twice at home. I think I
think
wouldn't
we
be
split
shocked
that,
if we split
honestly.
those. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
shocked, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we took both of them.
Right. Me
But
too.
I'd expect a split because it's 82 game series. We've already beat them once. What's the trend here? They're going to take one. Brooklyn will be a good one. That'll be a tough one. I think we go on the road for what, 6 games? 6 games. I bet we
But
go
that's like the
5-1.
Lakers. It depends when you get.
Yeah, I think you go 5-1. I think once we're back from that road trip is when you see Robert Williams back in the lineup, or at least questionable. I think you'll start to see him
Right.
this is when he'll be upgraded.
Questionable.
Doubtful,
Right.
because that puts us at December 16th. We'll have a huge homestand, guys. So get this: following December 13th, the Celtics will be at home until the new year. They will play every other game from December 13th on at home. They'll play the Magic twice, the Pacers and the T-Wolves, then the Bucks on Christmas, then the Rockets, and then the Clippers, and then they travel out west. So you're going to see Robert Williams in one of those. You come back in one of those games. So expect Robert Williams. If I had to give my not my bold prediction, but my best guess timetable, breaking news from Rob, I'd expect Robert Williams back in the lineup by December 16th, December 18th, one of those 2 games.
So, that's the thing about that schedule, that little stretch you just mentioned, Rob. And I'm not knocking these teams because they're great young. A game against the Magic, you play the Magic twice, then you throw in a Houston Rockets. Those types of games are good games to get Rob that 10 to 15 minutes, 15 minutes of play where it's not like you're getting thrown in against a Giannis or a Jokic or an Embiid. No, you're getting thrown in against a, young rookie team where, no disrespect to them, but that's when you want to get players, I guess, their playing time is against those types of teams where Robert, when he comes back, I think we all are in agreement. He's not coming back to play 35 to 45 minutes a game.
No.
He's coming back to play, in that more 10-minute range.
Well, and also look at the teams we've lost to. Obviously, only 2 of them, 4 games. They've all had very good rebounding bigs. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley out in Cleveland. They got Vucevic and Andre Drummond, who gave us real problems. We beat Chicago when they didn't have Drummond in the lineup. The 2 games where they did have Drummond, we lost to them. So, it's apparent that the Celtics have a weakness, but a weakness that teams really don't really have. The Cleveland has, Milwaukee has, Minnesota has some good bigs, but once Rob's back, that eliminates that big man weakness. Obviously, Cornette has been great off the bench recently, but he's still young and on the weaker side of the rebounding on the boards. Horford, you can only play so much. So as a Celtics fan and you're looking at the schedule, I would really only expect to struggle against teams that have an interior dominant force or presence. I'm talking about rebounding wise, right? I don't think a team like Brooklyn will see troubles with, because perimeter wise, we're the best one. We have the best guards and forwards in the league, hands down. No one else comes close. The depth and talent we have there is ridiculous. So if you want to go guards versus guards, we can do that. And once Rob's back, we'll be able to take you down low as well. So definitely, scheduling wise, some interesting matchups, something to look forward to in terms of, big men and guards and that aspect as Rob kind of progresses back into the lineup.
Definitely. It's going to be interesting to see, because I'm really hoping that we can get a healthy Robert Williams by the playoffs. I feel like the Celtics team would just dominate if he's healthy by the time the playoffs hit.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be best case scenario for them. Honestly, I originally thought that he would be back probably around either the Indiana game on the 21st or, probably not the Timberwolves game, but it's probably going to end up being probably around what you said, Rob, the 16, 18, 21st, or maybe even the 27th, depending on, what they want to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be important. It's going to be important to get Rob back in, because, they were talking about on the broadcast how they normally play five out with Al Horford as the center. But when Luke Cornette is the center, they do 4 out, and they have, the one guy down the paint.
It's like they're preparing. They're preparing for it.
Exactly. So that's kind of what it's looking like right now. Cornette's kind of been playing, obviously not, but he's been playing a Robert Williams type role when he's been in. So I feel like the Celtics team as a whole might not be, they're not going to be completely, behind when he comes back. It's just going to be catching him up to speed, getting
Just
there.
getting his legs warm. I mean, they've played with this guy before. The only guy that hasn't been with Rob is Malcolm Brogdon. So like the timing should still be there. It might be a little bit off at the start.
And Blake,
things, obviously, and Blake. But I mean,
Just
these guys have played with them. I'm interested to see how Rob's knees are going to react to the minutes. I don't know if this surgery. I don't know. We talked about this in a podcast, I believe. The last one that we just put out. There's a shot that Rob's in and out of the lineup throughout January. You could see him, resting back to backs and just knee management here, knee management there. I would expect to see a healthy, ready to go Robert Williams by after All-Star break if I had to give my best prediction. And that's when I think you'll finally start to see him playing those 30-plus minute games to get him ready for the playoffs. But until then, I think it's just going to be keeping him warm, getting him back into the swing of things. I mean, you got to think he'll be probably 30 games behind when he's back, 30 or 25, 30 games behind. So he's got some catching up to do. But other than that, like I said, Celtics win 120-111. Brown stole the show, 36 points. No Jason Tatum, no problem for the C's as they continue to roll, guys. Like I said, tomorrow night they play the Hornets at the Garden Monday, which is tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern time. We'll have you covered back here after the game for the post-game show. Guys, before we close out the show, any last words, thoughts, concerns, excitements?
Tomorrow's a trap game. Hornets have been unhealthy. They have not been up to par like teams or like fans thought they'd be. I thought they'd be a solid team this year, but they've had some key losses. But also, the Hornets are still a tough team to play against. Is LaMelo Ball playing in this game? Does anybody know?
No Hayward either.
Yeah, of course, no Hayward. I love
don't
Hayward.
Don't be shocked if you see Brown on the injury report and Tatum back in. I wouldn't not be shocked if they swapped these games.
Honestly, Al Horford's already not playing, so
it looked like Brown had some shoulder issues going on.
Yeah, I saw that too.
But hey, you know what though? Tomorrow's a trap game, but it's still a very, very winnable game. Look for guys like Sam Hauser, Malcolm Brogdon, Luke Cornett, especially Al Horford. Maybe even, in all jokes aside, maybe Blake Griffin plays every time Horford doesn't. We do see Blake Griffin in that starting lineup, and that's how deep we guys like Pritchard, Blake, Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser who could come off the bench and they provide great sparks. So continue that depth tomorrow night. We need that bench to keep going this week.
Definitely. It's going to be good to see. I mean, obviously, we always talk about how deep this team is, but the fact that you basically don't have your MVP candidate, playing in this game. And granted, I mean, it's not like the Wizards are the best team in the league, but they're still a pretty solid team. And the fact that you could go out there and just kind of blow them off the court, obviously till the fourth quarter, but blow them out basically not make it a contest without your best players just shows to the testament of how good this team really is.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, C's catch their third straight win, 16-4, so the best record in the league. Should be a good game tomorrow. Terry Rozier back in town. The Hornets, we saw them in the preseason. We got the best of them then. Will they bounce back and look to grab a W against the red-hot Boston Celtics? Like I said, we'll have you covered right back here, guys, for Postgame Live. I'm Rob. Next to me is Justin. Down below me, that's Ian.